Astyages is the most powerful man in the world. He sits on a throne of gold in the heart of Media. But tonight, he is sweating. He wakes up gasping. The air in his room is thick with the smell of sweet jasmine and cold sweat. He just saw the end of his world. In his dream, a vine grew from his own daughter. It grew fast. It grew thick. It wrapped around his throat and smothered his entire empire. He knew what it meant. His grandson was coming, and that boy would take everything. Imagine being that powerful, yet being terrified of a baby. Astyages didn't see a grandson, he saw a threat. He calls for his most trusted general, Harpagus. The king's heavy signet ring thuds against the stone table. Thud, thud, thud. It is the sound of a death sentence. "Take the child," the king whispers. "Take him into the mountains. Kill him with your own hands. Do not fail me." Harpagus takes the bundle. The infant Cyrus is quiet. He doesn't know he is a prince. He doesn't know he is supposed to die. But here is where the king made his first fatal mistake. He trusted a man with a conscience. Harpagus carries the baby into the Zagros Mountains. It is freezing. The wind howls like a dying animal. The silence of the peaks is bone-chilling. Harpagus looks at the child. He cannot do it. He hands the boy to a lowly shepherd instead. "Leave him in the woods," he lies. "Let the wolves have him." But the shepherd looks at the baby's face. He sees something the king didn't. He sees a life worth saving. Astyages thinks the problem is solved. He thinks he has killed the future, but the future is currently crying in a dirt hut deep in the hills. The king tried to bury his fear. Instead, he just planted the seed of his own destruction. What happens when that seed finally starts to grow? We are about to find out.
Cyrus grows up in the dirt. He wears coarse wool that scratches his skin. He drinks warm goat's milk. He tastes the dust of the Persian plateau every single day. He thinks he is a shepherd's son. He has no idea that his grandfather is the most powerful man on earth. But you cannot hide a lion in a sheep's skin forever. One day, the local boys are playing a game. They decide to play king. They look at each other, then they look at Cyrus. Without a word, they elect him. They don't choose him because of his clothes. They choose him because of his eyes. Even as a child, Cyrus has a gaze that does not flinch. But then, the game turns serious. One of the boys is the son of a high-ranking noble. He refuses to take orders from a shepherd. He laughs in the face of the king. Most kids would back down. Would you? Cyrus didn't. He has the boy seized and whipped for disobedience. He isn't being a bully. He is being a ruler. Word of this reached the capital. A shepherd boy beating the son of a nobleman? That is a crime. That is an insult to the crown. Cyrus is dragged to the palace. He is covered in dust. He stands before King Astyages. The king looks down from his throne of gold. He expects to see a trembling peasant. Instead, he sees a boy who stands tall, a boy who looks him right in the eye. Astyages feels a chill go down his spine. The boy's face looks familiar, too familiar. He remembers the dream of the vine. He remembers the order he gave 10 years ago. He realizes his executioner lied. The baby lived. The nightmare has come home. And now the real danger begins.
King Astyages knows the truth now. His general, Harpagus, lied to him. The baby Cyrus is alive. Most kings would just kill the general, but Astyages wants something worse. He wants soul-crushing revenge. He invites Harpagus to a grand banquet. The torches flicker against the dark stone walls. You can hear the low clink of silver spoons against ceramic bowls. The air smells of roasted meat and expensive wine. Harpagus eats. He is relieved. He thinks the king has forgiven him. Imagine sitting there, full and happy, thinking you are safe. But then the servants bring out a final basket. The king smiles. It is a thin, sharp smile. He tells Harpagus to look inside. Under the cloth are the head, hands, and feet of a young boy. It is Harpagus's own son. The room goes dead silent. The only sound is the crackle of the fire. The king asks if Harpagus enjoyed the meal. This is the moment that changed history. Harpagus does not scream. He does not cry. He looks into the king's cold eyes and swallows his grief. He says, "Whatever the king does is pleasing to me." But he is lying. In that silence, a blood feud was born. Astyages thought he was showing his power. He thought fear would make Harpagus a slave forever. He made a fatal mistake. Cruelty doesn't always break a man. Sometimes it turns them into a ghost that waits for the right moment to strike. Harpagus now has one goal: to find the boy he was supposed to kill and use him to burn this kingdom down. The king's nightmare was finally coming true, but he was the one who invited it to dinner.
Cyrus is back in Persia, but he is a king of nothing. The Persian tribes are divided. They are poor. They are tired. They spend more time fighting each other than their enemies. Cyrus needs an army. But how do you turn 1,000 angry men into a single blade? He gives them a test. He leads the men to a field choked with thick, jagged thorns. Clear it, he says, by sundown. Think about the heat. The sun beats down on their necks. The thorns tear at their skin. Hands are bleeding. Feet are blistered. By nightfall, they are exhausted and covered in dust. They hate the work. They hate the heat. But Cyrus is just getting started. The next day, everything changes. He calls the men back to the same field. Now, the thorns are gone. In their place are rugs and cushions. The air smells of roasting lamb and sweet pomegranate juice. They eat, they drink, they laugh. Then Cyrus stands up. The field goes quiet. Yesterday, he said, you lived like slaves. Today, you live like kings. Which life do you choose? It was a simple question, but the answer would change the world forever. 1,000 men stand up. They aren't shouting for food anymore. They are shouting for him. The roar of their voices shakes the mountains. They chose to fight. But who would be their first target? The answer would shock the entire world.
Babylon is the greatest city on earth. Its walls are so thick that 2 chariots can race on top of them. Its gates are bronze. Its towers touch the clouds. To any general, it looks impossible to conquer. To the Babylonians inside, it feels like a fortress that can never fall. They have enough food for 20 years. They have a massive river, the Euphrates, flowing right through the center of the city. They think they are safe. They are wrong. Cyrus arrives with his army. He doesn't build ladders. He doesn't use battering rams. Instead, he looks at the water. He realizes something no one else ever had. The river is the city's life, but it is also its greatest weakness. He orders his men to dig. Thousands of shovels hit the dirt. They dig a massive canal upstream. They are moving the river itself. Imagine standing on the city walls of Babylon. You hear the music of a great feast. You smell roasted meat. You feel invincible. But then the music starts to fade. You look down. The mighty Euphrates is shrinking. The gurgle of the water turns into a hiss. Then there is only silence. The river is gone. What happened next defies logic. The Persian soldiers don't climb the walls. They walk. Their boots squelch in the thick black river mud. They march right under the massive iron gates where the water used to be. The guards are drunk. The king is feasting. By the time the Babylonians realize the water is gone, The Persians are already in the streets. The greatest fortress in history fell without a drop of Persian blood. Cyrus didn't break the walls, he outsmarted them. But now that he owns the world, what will he do with it? Most conquerors kill. Cyrus was about to do something much more dangerous.
Cyrus enters the gates of Babylon. The city is silent. The people are waiting for the slaughter. They expect the fires. They expect the looting. That is how every king before him did it. But Cyrus is different. He doesn't come to burn. He comes to build. He walks through the streets and gives a shocking order. Do not touch a single house. Do not harm a single soul. Imagine being a prisoner in those dark Babylonian cells. You've been there for decades. You've forgotten the sun. Suddenly, the doors swing open. You hear a sound you never thought you'd hear again. Clink, clink, clink. It's the sound of heavy iron chains hitting the stone floor. Cyrus frees the Jews. He tells them they can go home. He reopens every temple. He brings back the gods of every tribe. The air smells of fresh incense rising from buildings that were locked for a lifetime. But he wanted to make it official. He calls for his scribes. You can hear the rhythmic scratching of a stylus on wet clay. He is writing a decree. Today, we call it the Cyrus Cylinder. It wasn't a list of his kills. It was the world's first declaration of human rights. He promised religious freedom. He promised safety. He chose to be a father instead of a tyrant. But why? Why give up the power to crush your enemies? Because Cyrus knew something his grandfather didn't. You can rule a man's body through fear, but you can only rule a world by winning its heart. He broke the cycle of cruelty. He changed the rules of history forever. The Nightmare of Astyages was dead. A new world had begun. Would you like to see how his legacy still shapes the way we live today?
The wars are over. The blood has dried. We are standing in the middle of a vast, empty plain called Pasargadae. The wind whistles over the dry grass. There are no golden statues here. There are no towering pyramids. There is only a simple stone box on a stepped platform. This is the tomb of Cyrus the Great. It is almost too small for a man who owned the world. Think about that. Most kings want to be buried in mountains of gold. They want to scare you even after they are gone. But Cyrus chose a different path. He was the king of kings, yet he wanted to rest in a humble limestone house. On the wall there was once a simple message, "O man, I am Cyrus, who founded the empire of the Persians. Grudge me not, then, this little earth that covers my body." He didn't want your fear, he wanted your respect. But did it work? Many thought his ideas would die with him. They thought the world would go back to darkness and chains. They were wrong. His DNA is still here. You find it in the laws of modern nations. You find it in the idea that every human has a right to be free. He proved that you don't have to be a monster to lead. He took the cruelty he suffered as a child and turned it into mercy for millions. He broke the cycle. Look at the world today. We still struggle with power. We still fight over who is in charge. But every time a leader chooses peace over blood, Cyrus is there. His monument isn't this stone tomb. His monument is the very idea of freedom. The king is dead, but his dream is still alive. What kind of legacy are you building with the power you have? Because in the end, the gold fades. Only the peace you leave behind remains.